Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another myth, legends, fairy tales, and makeup. What do you guys think of the new background? I thought it was very enchanted forest vibes. It was perfect for this series. To any newcomers, hello, hello, hello. My name is Chantel, but you can call me Chanty. And this series is my retelling of the original stories that led to some very popular movies while I do my makeup. Always like to give a little shout out to Bailey Sarian and Robert Welsh, whose Get Ready With Me series inspired me to do this one. If you've never heard of them, definitely check them out. I've got them in the description box down below. So today we're going to be talking about Sleeping Beauty, who is sometimes known as Briar Rose. There are so many different versions of the story, but the version that I'm reading today was written by the Grimm Brothers. Did anyone else love the Sleeping Beauty cartoon when we were kids, or when I was a kid? Everything about it was just so cute. The music, the graphics, it was just adorable. They also did a live action version of the story, but it was from the point of view of Maleficent, who was the evil queen. I really liked the live action version, but it definitely strayed from the fairy tale a lot. With all that being said, let's jump into the fairy tale so you can form your own conclusions. So once upon a time, there was a king and a queen who really wanted to have a baby, but no matter how hard they tried, they were never successful. One day, the queen was bathing and a frog came out of the water and told her that within a year, she'd be pregnant. I know it's weird. I have no clue how that frog got there or how it knew, but it did. So the frog is right, and within a year, the king and queen have a beautiful baby girl, and they decide to have a feast to celebrate, because why not? So they invite friends and family, and they also want to invite the wise woman of their village. They run into some problems though, because the wise woman can only eat off of gold plates. Now there are 13 wise women in this village, and they only have 12 gold plates. The king decides to only invite 12 of the wise women to rectify this issue because, I mean, how much damage can the 13th fairy do? The story didn't say that. That was just me adding on. So the day of the feast comes and the wise women start bestowing gifts. Like, they're like, she's gonna be beautiful, she's gonna be wise, she's gonna be extremely kind and have wonderful riches. And right after the 11th fairy bestows her gift, the 13th wise woman comes storming in. She hadn't been invited to the party and she was pissed. Before anyone had a chance to say anything, she bestows her gift. And her gift is that when the princess turns 15, she will prick her finger on a spindle and die. Like immediately. Just dead. Drop dead. Gone. Bye. After decreeing this, she leaves immediately. She just couldn't let anyone have the last word. Everyone's in shock, so the 12th wise woman steps forward and explains that she can't undo what her sister has done, but she can make it a bit better. What she does is she decrees that the daughter will prick her finger, but instead of dying, the princess will fall into a deep sleep that will last 100 years. After the 100 years is up, a king's son will come and save her. The king is grateful and is like, great, good, this is good, thank you. But just for good measure, I'm going to command that no one can spin anymore. And I'm also going to command that all of the spindles in the kingdom be burnt. Meanwhile, the other gifts that the wise woman bestowed on the princess come to fruition. So she's very beautiful, really smart, extremely kind, and it's said that everyone who meets her falls in love with her. On the princess's 15th birthday, the king and the queen are not in the castle. Who knows where they are? Buying gifts or something. The princess starts wandering and exploring. She finds her way to an old tower and climbs her way all the way to the top. At the top of the tower, she finds a door with a key still sitting in its lock. That's sus. The princess doesn't seem to think so because she turns the key in the door and opens it to see an old woman with a spindle spinning flax. The old woman explains to the princess what she's doing and how she can do it too. The princess barely touches the spindle when she pricks her finger and falls into a deep sleep. Conveniently, there's a bed available for her to fall onto. Now, as the 12th wise woman prophesies, the princess didn't die, she fell into a deep sleep. And so did everyone else in the castle, including the king and queen who had just returned home. Almost immediately, hedges begin growing around the castle. And within a few years, the castle is covered in shrubbery and thorns. So much so that you couldn't see 1 inch of it. Though the castle seemed to disappear, the story of the sleeping princess and the hidden castle spread like wildfire. Occasionally, a king's son would find the castle and try and penetrate its hedges. Each of these attempts were usually met with failure, and often these princes would die by getting trapped in the hedges. One day, a king's son heard the tale of the sleeping princess from an old man who discouraged the prince from making an attempt to enter the castle. The young prince was bold and wouldn't listen to the old man. By this time, 100 years had passed, and in place of the thorns were beautiful flowers that parted for the prince when he walked towards them, and closed after him once he'd entered. Once through the garden gateway, the prince was met with an unusual scene. He could see the castle inhabitants everywhere, passed out in the middle of tasks like plucking a chicken or preparing a meal. So he works his way through the castle until he made his way to the tower where the princess lay. He opened the door and saw her lying on the bed, and she was so beautiful he couldn't help himself, so he stooped to kiss her. As soon as he kissed her, her eyes fluttered open, and so did the eyes of the rest of the court. They marry soon after and live happily ever after. Now, this was the most PG-13 version of this fairy tale. But many versions of the fairy tale have the prince discovering the princess by accident. He's not guided there in any way. He just happens upon it, and he returns to visit her many times while she's in a coma. It takes him several years to kiss her, and in some versions, she also manages to have 2 children of his in that time, which is just so weird. You see a sleeping girl and have sex with her at least 2 times, maybe more, we don't know. But you never think to kiss her during this. The number of wise women, or fairies as they're sometimes called, also varies a lot. In some versions there's as few as 3, and instead it's an evil queen or an evil fairy. And in some versions we have as many as 13. And it's just a really grumpy fairy that's casting this spell on a harmless baby. Really leaves me questioning what the moral of this fairy tale is supposed to be. Is it think before you leave someone out? Spinning flax will put you in a coma? Who's to say? Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this story, and also what you think of my look. Would you kiss me if you found me sleeping? Please don't do that. Let's keep this space consent positive. If you like this video, if you like my vibe, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Take it easy.